Philippine Air Force has just received 5 new UH-60M Black Hawk helicopters, another major addition to a fleet that has grown rapidly in recent years. It's a milestone, no doubt. But as these aircraft touched down on the tarmac, a larger question hung in the air. How far does this upgrade really take the country toward a modern, capable, and resilient Air Force? The Black Hawk has long been praised for its reliability and versatility, yet the Philippines has struggled for decades with shortages in airlift capacity and aging equipment. So when new aircraft arrive, the reaction isn't just celebration, it's curiosity. Will these helicopters finally give the PAF the mobility it needs during disasters, troop deployments, and critical missions across the archipelago? Will they help close the capability gaps highlighted in recent crises?
And perhaps the biggest question of all,
Is this the beginning of a true transformation, or simply another step in a modernization effort still racing against time? The delivery raises hopes, but it also raises expectations, and the answers will unfold in the skies and missions ahead. The arrival of new Black Hawks is only one piece of a much larger modernization effort quietly reshaping the Philippine defense landscape. For years, the armed forces relied on aging aircraft and limited airlift capacity, a weakness exposed every time a major typhoon struck or security forces had to move across the archipelago at a moment's notice. Today, that picture is changing. The broader aircraft modernization program is pushing the military toward a faster, more adaptable, and more reliable force, one that can finally meet the demands of a country spread across thousands of islands.
this is where helicopters play a role that no other platform can match.
In a nation where roads end early, seas separate communities, and emergencies often unfold far from large air bases, rotary aircraft are not luxuries. They are lifelines. They carry relief goods when storms shut down ports, lift wounded civilians out of unreachable areas, search the waters after maritime disasters, and move troops quickly from island to island when security situations escalate. But the significance of these helicopters extends beyond internal needs. The regional security environment is shifting, and the Philippines is increasingly forced to respond to challenges that require speed, presence, and flexibility. Maritime sovereignty issues in the West Philippine Sea, counter-terrorism operations in the south, and the growing strategic competition across the Indo-Pacific all demand an air force capable of acting quickly and sustaining operations over distance.
Under the steadfast leadership of your Commander-in-Chief himself, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., the Department of Budget and Management reaffirms our commitment to modernizing our armed forces of the Philippines, including our Air Force.
The new Black Hawks strengthen that response.
Yet they also raise questions.
Does the current fleet meet the pace of threats evolving around the region? Can these aircraft support a military posture that now has to balance disaster relief with territorial defense? And is the modernization program moving fast enough to keep up with the strategic pressures building in the Indo-Pacific? These aren't just technical considerations. They shape how the Philippines protects its people, asserts its sovereignty, and adapts to a security landscape that is becoming more unpredictable every year. The arrival of these 5 UH-60M Black Hawks is the latest milestone in a long chain of agreements that began under the U.S. Foreign Military Sales Program, with Sikorsky Aircraft, now part of Lockheed Martin, serving as the primary manufacturer. The procurement process itself reflects how closely Washington and Manila have coordinated on defense modernization in recent years. The agreement didn't simply involve purchasing helicopters. It included training, logistics support, spare parts, and a framework that allows the Philippine Air Force to absorb the aircraft quickly and safely into active service. When the new batch touched down in the Philippines, they did so under the familiarity of an established partnership and the weight of rising expectations. Their delivery schedule has been closely watched. The helicopters arrived in phases, with the most recent 5 coming as part of a broader plan to expand the PAF's air mobility fleet.
Officials held a brief turnover ceremony upon arrival.
Formal enough to mark the significance of the moment, yet understated compared to the scale of the upgrade the aircraft represent. The new units are expected to be based with the 205th Tactical Helicopter Wing, which has become the core of the country's lift capability. Their deployment there reflects how critical these assets are for both tactical and humanitarian missions across the archipelago.
This may be used as kung ano po yung maging outcome po ng mga planners natin. As you all know, we have training exercises with our partners sa United States, yung balikatan. So, meron din pong involvement yung mga air assets natin.
The UH-60M model itself is a major leap from the aging platforms the PAF has relied on. Its upgraded engines deliver better power and performance, particularly in hot and humid environments typical of the Philippines. An advanced avionics suite enhances situational awareness, combining digital displays, flight management systems, and modern navigation tools in a glass cockpit designed for safer operations.
Survivability upgrades.
From improved crashworthiness to defensive systems against small arms fire, give crews greater confidence in demanding missions. The Black Hawk's ability to carry external loads, operate in low visibility, and adapt to a wide range of missions makes it far more than a transport aircraft. It is a multi-role workhorse capable of handling everything from troop insertion to disaster evacuation. Some variants even support in-flight refueling, extending their endurance when needed. As for the cost, the exact figures depend on the bundled support packages, but estimates place the latest procurement within the range that the PAF has been allocating under its modernization budget. The Philippines has consistently emphasized value, endurance, and strategic relevance when investing in aircraft, and the Black Hawk program fits squarely within those priorities.
Each helicopter represents not only a financial commitment, but a long-term investment into operational readiness and national resilience. All these details, procurement, delivery, specifications, cost, create an important backdrop for understanding why this latest batch matters. They show a modernization program gaining momentum, a defense relationship growing deeper, and an Air Force beginning to field the kinds of assets it has long lacked. But they also raise the inevitable question: with threats evolving as fast as they are, will even these new Black Hawks be enough? The addition of new UH-60M Black Hawks instantly reshapes what the Philippine Air Force can do in real-world operations, especially in a country where terrain, weather, and distance often determine whether help arrives on time or not. One of the biggest gains comes in search and rescue and disaster relief missions, areas where the Philippines has long struggled because older helicopters lacked the lift, reliability, and avionics needed to operate safely in extreme conditions. The Black Hawk's powerful engines allow it to fly into typhoon hit zones, where winds are unpredictable and debris can fill the air. Its digital cockpit improves night operations and low visibility missions, letting crews navigate safely during the most critical hours after a storm. And with the ability to reach remote islands quickly, the aircraft becomes a lifeline during floods, landslides, or maritime accidents, often the difference between rescue and tragedy. Beyond humanitarian missions, the Black Hawk strengthens the combat and utility backbone of the PAF. It can lift troops into contested terrain, support rapid response counterterrorism operations, conduct medical evacuation during firefights, and insert special operations teams with precision. Its cabin layout and external load capability allow it to carry supplies, equipment, or injured personnel without sacrificing speed. In maritime environments, where security concerns have grown sharply, Black Hawks can support interdiction missions, provide overwatch for naval operations, or ferry teams across islands faster than surface units can move. Interoperability is another key advantage, and it is one that often goes unnoticed. The UH-60M's systems, procedures, and mission profile align smoothly with U.S. and allied forces operating in the region. This allows the PAF to participate more effectively in bilateral and multilateral exercises, adopt standardized operating procedures, and integrate into joint missions when needed. The aircraft also meshes well with the Army and Navy's operational requirements, making cross-branch missions faster and easier to coordinate. That cohesion matters in a country where security threats frequently span air, land, and sea. In recent statements, PAF leaders have highlighted the significance of what these aircraft bring. One senior official noted that the upgrade raises mission readiness to a level we have not seen in years, emphasizing that the Black Hawks fill gaps the Air Force has long been forced to work around. Another pointed out that every new unit gives us more flexibility, greater reach, and a faster response time, reflecting a growing confidence that the PAF is now better equipped to meet both humanitarian and security challenges. Their remarks echo a broader sentiment inside the force. These helicopters don't just add capability, they change what's possible. And yet, with every capability gained, another question naturally follows. Is this enough to match the pace of challenges spreading across the archipelago, or is it simply the beginning of a much larger transformation still to come? With the latest batch of Black Hawks now in the country, the Philippine Air Force is preparing to position them where they can deliver the greatest strategic and humanitarian impact. The new helicopters are expected to join the 205th Tactical Helicopter Wing, whose units are spread across Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao.
This distributed basing allows the PAF to respond rapidly to emergencies across the archipelago, whether it's a typhoon hitting northern Luzon, an evacuation needed in the Visayas, or a security operation unfolding in conflict-prone areas of Mindanao. Luzon-based aircraft will likely take on missions tied to territorial defense and northern surveillance, while units assigned further south will support counterterrorism operations, maritime patrols, and urgent medical flights across the Sulu Sea and surrounding regions. Each location gives the Blackhawks a specific role shaped by geography and threat environment.
In the immediate term, the helicopters are expected to begin with routine patrols, mobility operations, and disaster preparedness drills. These early missions are essential not only for operational tempo, but for familiarizing new crews with the aircraft's advanced systems. Medium-term plans include participation in joint exercises with the Army, Navy, and international partners, giving pilots experience in both air assault and heavy lift scenarios. Disaster relief preparations will also be structured more systematically. Instead of responding reactively, the PAF aims to integrate the Blackhawks into scheduled relief rehearsals and interagency coordination plans, setting clearer protocols for when storms hit or when major evacuations are required. Rotation schedules will be organized to ensure readiness across regions, guaranteeing that no part of the country remains underserved. Supporting all these missions is a growing training pipeline designed to bring pilots, crew members, and maintenance specialists up to the standards required for a sophisticated platform like the UH-60M. Pilots undergo flight conversion and mission-specific instruction, including night vision operations, mountain flying, and maritime search and rescue techniques. Crew chiefs and medevac personnel train on loading procedures, in-flight medical support, and sling load operations for cargo missions. Meanwhile, the maintenance infrastructure is being expanded to ensure long-term sustainability. Hangars, workshops, spare parts inventories, and logistics centers are being upgraded to provide reliable support throughout the fleet's life cycle. The goal is to build an ecosystem, not just a set of aircraft, capable of keeping Blackhawks mission ready at all times. All these preparations reflect a broader question that quietly follows each upgrade. Can the Philippines scale its capabilities fast enough to match rising demands? Or will the Blackhawks become the backbone of a fleet still racing against operational pressures on land and sea? As welcome as the new Blackhawks are, their arrival also brings a set of challenges the Philippine Air Force cannot ignore. These helicopters are high-end platforms, and keeping them mission-ready requires a level of maintenance discipline and technical expertise that must be sustained year after year. The airframes demand trained technicians, well-stocked inventories of spare parts, and a reliable supply chain connected to manufacturers and regional service hubs. Without that foundation, even the most capable aircraft can fall into reduced readiness, as has happened in other militaries stretched thin by budget or logistics gaps. The PAF now faces the task of building and retaining a workforce of specialists who can maintain advanced engines, inspect sensitive avionics, and manage long-term sustainment cycles, tasks far more demanding than those associated with older helicopter models. Integrating the Blackhawks into an existing fleet that includes older UH-1 Hueys, S-76s, and attack helicopters introduces another layer of complexity. The PAF must rethink its doctrine, operations planning, and mission allocation to make full use of the new capabilities without creating inefficiencies or bottlenecks. How should missions be divided between legacy aircraft and modern ones? How does the Air Force ensure that advanced assets are not overused simply because they are more capable? And what does this mean for training pilots who must now transition between platforms with vastly different avionics and operational characteristics? These are questions that will shape how effectively the new helicopters strengthen the fleet rather than complicate it. Geography adds its own complications. Operating across thousands of islands with limited airfields, short runways, unpredictable tropical weather, and wide stretches of open sea creates an environment where even small logistical weaknesses can disrupt operations. Remote areas lack hangars or sheltered maintenance bays, forcing crews to improvise under challenging conditions. Typhoons can ground aircraft for days, strain maintenance schedules, and shorten equipment lifespans. Even the Blackhawk's impressive range can be tested when missions stretch across the archipelago's farthest regions. The helicopters will undoubtedly help overcome terrain barriers, but they will also face the full weight of the Philippines' difficult operating environment. Finally, there is the ever-present issue of budget. Modernizing the air fleet demands significant investment, and sustaining it requires continuous funding that competes with other defense priorities. Maritime domain awareness, fighter aircraft procurement,
offshore patrol vessels, and long overdue infrastructure upgrades. The risk is not that Black Hawks divert all resources, but that their long-term operational costs gradually erode budgets intended for other missions. Maintaining balance will require careful planning and discipline, ensuring that these helicopters strengthen national capability without becoming an unintended financial strain.
These challenges don't diminish the value of the new Black Hawks, but they do remind us that modernization is never just about acquiring equipment. It is about building the systems, infrastructure, and mindset needed to support that equipment for decades. Whether the Philippines meets those demands will determine how far this upgrade truly goes, and whether the Air Force can keep pace with the growing pressures across the archipelago. The arrival of new Black Hawks sends a message that reaches far beyond Philippine air bases. In a region where mobility and rapid response increasingly define military readiness, this upgrade signals that the Philippines is strengthening its ability to move, act, and adapt across its vast archipelago. For neighboring countries, it demonstrates a shift in posture. The PAF is no longer simply trying to fill gaps, but actively building the kind of capabilities expected of a modern force operating in a contested and disaster-prone environment. For adversaries watching closely, the message is clear. Response times will be faster, operational reach will be broader, and the Philippines will be harder to pin down in crises that demand speed and flexibility. The delivery also folds into the deeper fabric of U.S.-Philippine security ties. While formally acquired through foreign military sales, the Black Hawks reflect a broader alignment in defense modernization priorities, emphasizing interoperability and shared missions. Whether in joint exercises, humanitarian operations, or coordinated maritime patrols, these aircraft allow both forces to operate on similar standards and platforms. That convergence matters. It signals that the Philippines is not just receiving equipment, but integrating into a wider network of partners, preparing for complex Indo-Pacific contingencies. Every new Black Hawk that enters service strengthens that alignment and reinforces the credibility of allied cooperation. Zooming out, the upgrade fits into a larger Indo-Pacific defense trend, where helicopters have become essential tools for countries facing intertwined security pressures. Maritime disputes, rapid onset natural disasters, remote island logistics, and emerging expeditionary roles. Rotational deployments, climate-driven emergencies, and shifting regional dynamics have elevated the importance of modern rotary wing fleets across the region. Nations are investing in aircraft that can deliver immediate humanitarian aid one day and support maritime security operations the next. In that context, the Philippines' acquisition of Black Hawks is not an isolated move. It is part of a broader recalibration as Indo-Pacific states prepare for a decade where mobility, resilience, and readiness will determine how effectively they respond to both threats and disasters. Ultimately, these helicopters are more than just new assets on a tarmac. They are a strategic signal, a quiet but unmistakable announcement that the Philippines is upgrading its role within a region growing more complex by the year. The question now is how far this momentum will carry the country as it navigates a landscape where capability, cooperation, and preparedness matter more than ever. With the new Black Hawks now in service, the Philippine Air Force is looking toward a future where air mobility and rapid response are not occasional strengths, but standard capabilities. The next phases of modernization point toward a broader portfolio of assets: additional attack helicopters to support ground forces, long-endurance drones for maritime surveillance, fixed-wing transports for logistics, and upgraded radar and command systems to tie everything together. The Black Hawks themselves are likely to evolve as well. As mission demands expand, the PAF may outfit them with multi-role kits, ranging from medical evacuation modules to maritime patrol equipment, hoist systems, and advanced communication suites. Integration with emerging network-centric warfare systems will allow these helicopters to feed real-time data into command centers and coordinate seamlessly with ground units, naval forces, and aerial assets. Over time, the long-term impact could be transformative. The Philippines gains not just new aircraft, but a stronger deterrent posture backed by speed, mobility, and credible operational readiness. Humanitarian assistance and disaster relief missions, historically hampered by slow logistics and limited lift capacity, will benefit enormously from a larger, more reliable helicopter fleet. Whether responding to typhoons, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, or maritime accidents, the PAF will be better positioned to save lives and move resources with urgency. On the security front, these helicopters strengthen rapid reaction forces across the islands,
giving the government faster response options to crises, insurgencies, and maritime situations that require immediate attention. In short, the Black Hawks mark the beginning of a broader shift, a Philippine Air Force that is no longer catching up, but building forward. The delivery of 5 new UH-60M Black Hawks represents far more than a simple addition of hardware to the Philippine Air Force. It is a strategic upgrade that expands the country's range, reach, and readiness at a time when mobility and rapid response have become essential to both national security and humanitarian operations. These aircraft embody a shift in mindset, one that moves the PAF from a largely reactive posture to an agile, proactive force capable of responding quickly and confidently across multiple mission sets. They enhance the country's ability to protect its people, support its soldiers, and assert its presence in a region where every capability matters. As the Philippine archipelago grows ever more vital in the geopolitical landscape of the Indo-Pacific, this capability boost arrives at a moment when the demands on the military are rising, not easing. The Black Hawks are not the final step in modernization, but they are a critical one, signaling a path toward a more prepared, more resilient, and more strategically positioned Air Force. They reflect a broader truth, that the nation is serious about readiness, committed to modernization, and willing to invest in the tools needed to navigate a future marked by both risk and opportunity. If you like the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for deep analysis of contemporary issues.